Hello and welcome to Team Franco Bodybuilding Podcast. Hoping you guys are doing wonderful out there, getting it done both in and out of the gym. All right, so a fun topic for today, which if you are a first time competitor, this can give you some insight. If you're a seasoned competitor, you may be able to relate to every single topic that I talk about, or maybe you haven't and you are a competitor. Regardless, it's something that I thought is worth mentioning, covering, putting it out there through self experience, through both coaching, competing for all these years, and also promoting, where I truly believe that there are three phases to contest prep. And you'll know that I'm going to cover them shortly, where the first one, we get excited. That's typically the first phase. The second phase, that's when the real test comes in. And by the time we reach the third phase, let's hope that you are locked in, everything is going well, and you're going to crush it. But of course, I'm going to go into greater detail, share some of my thoughts and feelings where something like this is not really talked about, at least in my opinion. Everyone talks about, their macros, their cardio, training splits, but I don't think enough people talk about what actually happens mentally. As we know, bodybuilding is a lot of it is mindset, especially going through prep. Because here's the truth. This just isn't about a physical journey. It's a mental one. And if you're not ready for that part, unfortunately, prep will expose you really, really fast. So let's break it down. The first phase, that's the excitement phase, right? We can all agree upon that. It's the honeymoon phase. This is when you finally make that decision. I'm going to do a show. Everything feels good, right? You're excited, you're motivated, you're telling your people, your friends, family, people that you train with, you're posting about it. You make that post, I'm going to compete in the Jersey Natural Open. I'm a number of weeks out or whatever. You're letting the world know. And that's great. I don't have an issue with that because I think contest prep should be about excitement. And it should be carrying that excitement through all those weeks and many, many months. Because initially, you're excited to get that diet from your coach or start your own diet. You're locked in with your training. You're hitting your steps, your cardio, and honestly, it doesn't even feel hard because that excitement is so high that you're just doing what necessarily needs to be done day in and day out. And that's because of motivation that you're carrying, because you're so motivated because you made that commitment finally to compete. You have the structure, you have that direction from your coach. And there's something powerful to me about chasing a goal with a purpose, right? I mean, you finally set this goal that you didn't think was obtainable, or maybe finally the timing is right for you to go for it. So the excitement is elevated, motivation is high. And honestly, I think that's a great place to be, where that to me is what it's all about. When I finally get into the zone with my diet, I am super excited. Nothing is going to stop me. Where my workouts are being crushed, I'm nailing the diet, I'm seeing changes in my physique every few days to every few weeks or whatever, but I have that constant data that's telling me things are going well. And that usually all happens in the first phase of a contest prep. But here's the truth. This phase is strictly, to me, driven by emotion, not discipline. And unfortunately, guys, especially to you first timers out there thinking about competing, or you can relate to this, the emotion doesn't last that long. That's the hard part. Because eventually, that excitement will start to fade. That is inevitable. Or at least in most cases, it's inevitable. Where you enter phase 2, and I call this, you're in it, right? You're in pretty deep already. Now it's real. This is where prep stops being exciting for some and starts becoming a challenging event in your life. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying this is where people get tested when they enter phase 2. Now, all of a sudden, you have to make choices. And you know I'm a fan of balance and flexibility, but just sometimes you have to be cautious of social events where either you learn to eat the food that the social event is catering, eat before or after, where you need to be dedicated and mindful of your diet a little bit more. And unfortunately, sometimes when you watch what other people eat, it's kind of hard to stay locked in. But ultimately, you need to stay accountable, but at the same time, and truthfully, it mentally can be wearing on you. And I've been there also. But if we can still maintain that excitement from phase number 1, this can't be or will not be as challenging. But often for first timers, it is challenging. And then unfortunately, when you're in phase 2, where you're in it, quote unquote, you may start to second guess yourself, constantly, why am I doing this? Is it worth it? Maybe I should ease up a little bit. This is where the diet actually starts to begin and become harder. And truth, I'm not going to bullshit you guys. There's been times when I do prep and I'm in it, my calories are low, and then I'll be like, ugh, I succumb to it, but I don't. But I'm like, ugh, why am I doing this to myself? I've competed before, I've won before, I have nothing to prove. I'm hungry. It's a challenge going out, but again, I try to preach what I teach as far as balance and flexibility, but it becomes wearing and it becomes tiring, because the calories are down, the energy dips a little bit more than what you're expected. Training, yeah, it can be harder. But here's the truth about it. You need to remind yourself when you're in phase 1 that you were excited. And this is your decision, where it gives you full control of actually reaching a goal that a lot of people can't do for themselves. And it reminds you that now I'm in that second phase. I am committed, right? There is a difference. You're not focusing on motivation anymore, right? It's all about discipline. And you've heard me say this in many different versions of my podcast. Discipline always trumps motivation. Discipline now teaches you what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. And on top of that, people will notice. And the good thing about that, people are going to start commenting on your physique, respecting your discipline. They're going to ask questions. How do you do this, Joe? What is it? What's your secret for maintaining muscle and losing body fat at the same time? But sometimes that can bring on more pressure to you, but it's also dependent on how you handle it, because that can also spark a little bit more excitement because people are noticing throughout your dark days of discipline and grinding through. So I believe that sometimes that extra pressure that you may feel from others can sharpen you, where it can really bring out the best because you're having outside feedback. Your discipline's becoming noticed if you feel like you need that external motivation. Or, point blank, it can break you, where you finally reach this phase, not finally, but you reach the phase of the grind, and people will be like, this isn't for me. I can't do this. If this is the way it's going to be for the next, month or two, I can't do it because I'm miserable and I'm affecting others. And honestly, I don't have a problem if people make that decision because, again, bodybuilding contest prep isn't for everyone. And again, if you listen to my podcast, I try to avoid you crashing during the second phase as much as possible through my tactics, my philosophies, and I think I'm pretty darn good at it. But it is inevitable, and it's all about the mental state on how you handle it, to me, that matters the most. So this is the time where it's going to make or break you. And I believe this phase is what really separates people who want it from the people who are actually willing to work for it. And a lot of people don't make it through, But if you do, you're going to be entering phase number 3. And to me, this is where things get a little bit more interesting, because phase 3 to me is the final push, where the light at the end of the tunnel is there for your contest day. You're in it. Like, you're really in it. You push through the plateaus. Your body is changing. You're seeing more great things happening. You're seeing the look come together. And yeah, you start becoming proud, proud of that hard work, as I believe you should be, 1,000%. But at the same time, yeah, you still can be tired. You can still be hungry. Let's be real about that. Energy is lower, sleep may be off. You're simply running on structure, routine, and pure discipline at this point. And unfortunately, again, you can be proud of what you've been doing, but so can a mix of emotions. Meaning, you're excited to step on stage, but you're also excited for it to be over. And that's normal, right? That is super normal. Where I remember my last time I competed a couple years ago. Yes, I thought it was the best prep that I ever had, because I think emotionally I was the most stable, whether it's because I've competed a number of times, older, whatever. I was super excited to be on stage. But at the same time, and I'm not ashamed, I was looking for it to be over. And it's not because I wasn't enjoying doing what I was doing. It was just because I know I tested my body to the full limits, relatively speaking, and I couldn't go much further. It was like, all right, I have enough juice to make it to contest day. I'm a few weeks out. Let's finish this fucking thing strong, and then I'm going to back off and, reverse diet properly. So again, it's all normal to have these feelings where where I lost my pace here. The one thing though that also happens that could be stressful for some of us is that people then start inquiring because they've seen all the changes, where they ask you, how many weeks out are you, right? Where's your competition? You get that, especially if you train at gyms or you're on social media a lot, especially if you announced your show. And at first, that's cool, Now you're like, yeah, all right, I get it, I'm close. But you know what? It also opens up the door to the Pandora's box of all these other thoughts, where some could be negative, where you're just looking to eat and just eat and eat. But at the same time, you're also looking forward to possibly having more energy, sleeping better. But here's the real key point, about this final phase. It is strictly about execution at this time, guys. It's not emotion. At this point, literally, the work is done. Now it's just about finishing strong. No shortcuts, no slipping, just showing up and executing the plan day in and day out and trusting the process. Now, this is just anecdotal stuff that I've learned personally, and just something that I wanted to relate to you guys if you're thinking about competing. And of course, maybe you can relate to every single phase, or maybe one out of the 3 or all 3. It's just an interesting thing to talk about, because sometimes people will ride that initial high of excitement, but when things get tough, where they got to rely on discipline over motivation, they back out. And I'm here to tell you, you don't give up. You've gotten so far, probably more than halfway. Finish it. There's nothing bad that's going to happen to you. Nothing that you can't recover from. Where I honestly believe that the strong will survive, but at the same time, you want to have fun and be excited over it. These 3 phases, to me, they all serve a purpose. Phase 1 builds up the momentum, the excitement. Phase 2 is all about discipline, day in and day out. And phase 3 is about the hard resilience, the grind, seeing the light at the end of the tunnel and finishing strong. And if you can go through all 3 phases and come out the other side better, that's what it's all about. Because the truth of the matter is, guys, anyone can start a prep, but not everyone can finish it the right way. So if you're in it now, like I said, stay locked in. And if you're thinking about doing it, just understand what you're signing up for. It's not always about a physical transformation, but it's a mental one where it can last a lifetime on what you learn upon yourself. So I appreciate you guys listening. If this hits home, please share it, save it, send it to someone. And as always, love you guys. I'll talk to you next time. If you're digging my philosophy and possibly interested in coaching, fitfranco@verizon.net is the best way for emailing me. Check me out on the socials. I'll talk to you next time.